Excellent. Hello, everybody. Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
Bernadette's on. Hey. Hi, Ann.
Hi.
And here's Doris.
Looks like we're All-Star.
So we're gonna try to start a little bit after 6 just to give the format to people, welcome people, and then I'm going to introduce Leah and Nicole at about 5 after 6. So that's our format.
Okay.
And then we are going to show the ME2 video tonight. Is everything on board with that? I'm going to show off my spork. And this beautiful, here's another version of the spork.
What are they made of?
This one's made of some kind of metal. What is it? It's made of titanium.
Ooh.
Oh, that's right.
And it's from Japan. So, oh, those Japanese, they're so ingenious. And this one's made out of some kind of plastic. This one's made in Sweden. This one's made in Sweden.
Oh.
But it's made out of plastic. Hopefully it's second time around plastic.
Yeah. Sure it's not bamboo?
Ah. I haven't seen a bamboo spork. If you come across a bamboo spork, let me know. But then Bonnie made this sheath that you can put your spork into. Isn't that?
Yeah.
So anyway. So yeah. So after the ME2, Nicole's going to share some how to eliminate plastic during the holidays, and then Steve's going to share a document from his friend Mike that is a guide for green gift giving, and then we're going to open it up to people who would like to share what they're doing. That's green gift giving ideas, and we'll record those. Yeah. Should have some kind of holiday music while we're gathering.
Right.
I could try to do a Bing Crosby impersonation of White Christmas. How would that be?
You know, Bing Crosby did a really cool song with David Bowie. It might have, I forget what the song
Little
was.
Drummer Boy.
Little drummer
yeah,
boy
it was
with it.
Really,
and then there's
really
some.
good.
Then there's a piece about peace. I
Mm,
just saw that for the first time.
yeah, it's very good.
I have some Bing Crosby 78s I could play, but because they're 78s, they're a little crackly.
Oh, that adds to the quality, though.
Right.
On Sunday, I was talking about listening to during my sermon. I was talking about listening to the Goodyear Tire Company Christmas album.
Oh, I've got that. We were just playing it the other day.
They did a whole series, the tire companies. I think Firestone did it too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was big name people singing on it.
Oh yeah, it was everything from the Mormon Tabernacle Choir to Julie Andrews to Ella Fitzgerald to Nat
Barbara
King Cole,
Streisand.
Barbara Streisand, Mel Torme, Edie Gourmet. And the young people just kind of stared at me like, huh? First of all, what's an LP? Although,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
oh my. So, all right, we'll wait a few more minutes and we'll dive right in. There are 20 some people signed up, and we've got about 12 so far. And this is being recorded so that those who aren't able to be with us can watch it. And for those who are starting to gather, probably many of you know that the webinars that we've been doing since February, is that our first one? Are all available on the SPCA website. Great. I've got a great, I think it's Narada CD of Hanukkah songs for the Hanukkah season, which is really a wonderful piece. Hi, Mary.
There's Mary Upchick. Is Catherine showing off some of her beautiful woodwork? Holy smokes. That's
Yeah.
lovely. Oh, there she is.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi,
That's gorgeous.
I'm Mary.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
So Leah, you know enough about these kinds of things that people might jump on board as you're giving your presentation. So, yeah.
Yep, no problem at all.
Hey, Lauren, did you decorate your outdoor mannequins for the holiday season?
That's the plan for next year.
Okay.
The problem is, so I used to decorate them when they were in my house because we wear the same size.
Oh.
But now that they're outside and they're all cocked together, I have to make new clothing for them so that it like velcros around and can get on their arm, because I can't detach their arms to put shirts and dresses on anymore. So they're a lot harder to dress. So hopefully next year.
You have to stitch up the back.
Yeah,
with Velcro.
yep.
Well, we'll look forward to that next year. Maybe we can do a webinar on how.
Maybe they'll get seasonal outfits like the geese do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
That's what Ann's thinking. Should have some seasonal outfits out there.
What are the geese?
The cement
Oh.
geese that people put on their front stoops. They just
Oh,
they wear like a little poncho.
Yeah.
oh,
There's a woman in Wauwatosa right by the high school. Every month
Yeah.
was different.
Yep.
And so, and the students would always talk about, did you see?
And
the
there's lots of geese.
Lots of geese, yeah. Kids would all talk about it. Oh, Miss O'Connell, did you see the geese? And then they want a Spanish motif and different cultural. That woman wasn't into that. She had her own ideas what she wanted.
Is that on 76? Where is it?
74th, isn't it?
Fourth
Right
or
to the high
third
school.
somewhere. It's just
Third,
on the
fourth.
block on Hillcrest, right?
Yeah. And
no
a
need.
one-way street over to the high school.
Yeah.
So whatever, I think it's 74th. Should be,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get started and so we can give Leah plenty of time to do her presentation, and we'll hope that more people jump on board. We have 20 plus people signed up for this webinar. So welcome to everyone who is here.
Yeah.
And we give thanks for all the ways that you are seeking to green Sherman Park and beyond. I'm Tim Perkins. I'm part of the Environmental Collaborative Office, Sherman Park Neighborhood. And I'm going to be hosting the first part of this presentation. And I will introduce our guests on plastic free. That'll be our first half of our presentation. We go till 7:30 tonight. And then our Steve O'Connell will take over, and we're going to be doing a second section on green gift giving and green holidays. So that'll be the second half of our presentation. And I have a conflict, so I will be excusing myself, but I'll look forward to hearing about watching and hearing the second half. This is all being recorded, so you can watch it later on and pass it on to others. This was one of those presentations that I'd sent out to my friends beyond the boundaries of Milwaukee and the state lines, to people around the country. And so I'm hoping that I'll be able to share this in the future. I'm also here and with Mabel Lamb, our Sherman Park Community Association director. So Mabel, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody.
And we're also appreciative.
Thanks for joining us all.
Yeah. Also appreciative that Ben Barker is our tech person tonight. So without further ado, let me introduce Leah Holloway. who is the program director for Milwaukee River Keeper, one of our great environmental organizations in the city, in this area. And her colleague, Nicole Chavez, who is working with Milwaukee River Keeper. And Nicole, we welcome you as well. Nicole's going to do a short presentation after a special video that we're going to watch. So the first half of the first half is going to be about plastic free with some time for questions. Then we're going to take a brief intermission and show you a 4 or 5 minute video. Is it a 3-minute video on the ME2 program? And Steve's a part of that. And then afterwards, Steve's going to take over, and we're going to have some further presentations on green gift giving and green holidays, and an opportunity for you to share some of the green gifts that you have given and that you have received, so that we can all learn from each other. So this is a real community event. So Leah, thank you for being here tonight, and Nicole, and we'll look forward to your presentation on plastic-free Milwaukee.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tim. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really grateful that we've been able to connect with Sherman Park recently, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit about what we've been up to. So like Tim said, my name is Leah Holloway. I'm the program manager with Milwaukee River Keeper. We are a local science-based advocacy organization working to protect, restore, connect, and advocate for Milwaukee's rivers. And one of the ways that we do that is by cleaning trash, restoring our rivers by cleaning trash out of the waterways. And we were finding that like 80 to 90% of the trash that we were finding and that our volunteers were finding, and we collect over 150,000 pounds each year, most of that is plastics. And so we started to think about ways that we could maybe start to work on that on the front end before it ever gets into the environment and causes that damage. And so at that time, we found a group of grassroots activists, volunteers who had formed this group called Plastic Free MKE. And we were so excited to be able to join in their efforts and help boost and amplify the work. And so that's what I'm here to talk about today. The vision of Plastic Free MKE is a healthier Milwaukee for everyone, free from the harms of unnecessary plastics. And I'll talk more about Plastic Free MKE towards the end and what we do. But I also wanted to start with some of the reasons why plastics can be so harmful. A lot of us think about it as just trash in our environment, in our streets, in our neighborhoods, but there's actually other challenges with plastics as well, and why it's so hard to get rid of. And I'll give some tips on ways that we can all take action to help work on this issue. And then, yeah, we're really excited to brainstorm with you all some tips to make our holidays more plastic free. That's a challenge for everyone. So it's fun to hear people's ideas. So feel free to put questions in the chat as we go if you want, or feel free to save them for the end. And I'm super happy to take questions and comments at the end. So let's dive in. So plastics were invented in 1907, and pretty much every single piece of plastic that has ever been created since then still exists. The only real way of getting rid of it is burning it, and that has a lot of environmental and human health impacts. So there's not really any throwing it away. There's no away for plastics. Production has increased about 20 times over the last 50 years. And really in the 1980s is when plastic production really ramped up. And demand for plastic is really expected to continue to grow over the next few decades. Demand doesn't grow for no reason. It's sometimes hard to imagine why plastics are so popular when we look at photos like this. But plastic actually has a lot of benefits for us, and it's important to remember that as well. So it's lightweight, it's really easy to carry, it makes our food last longer, it's really convenient, it's very cheap, which is really helpful in a lot of situations, and it doesn't break down, which, depending on what you're using it for, is a true benefit. So if you're thinking about like lightweight medical prosthetics or the plastic joint implants that we now can use, those things, you want them to last a long time and you don't want them to degrade. So that's when plastic is really useful. So there's so many great things about plastics. Where did we go wrong? What's the actual problem here? Well, it's not that we use plastics, it's that we have a tendency to overuse plastics. A lot of the plastics are single use, so they're designed to be only used for a few minutes and then thrown away. And then improper disposal is a huge concern as well. So we're going to take a quick look at plastics. Like most environmental problems, plastic has like various negative effects at different scales. So from global all the way down to like microscopic scales. So we'll chat about those really quickly, and we'll kind of talk about how they impact human health at every step of the way, because that's a big concern for us at Plastic Free MK. We're not just looking at the trash in the environment, we're thinking about how it really impacts all of us as well. So starting at the climate scale, the global scale, plastics is actually driving climate change in 2 different ways. So when you produce plastics, it takes about 3 pounds of carbon dioxide to produce a pound of plastics. So the more plastics we produce, the faster we're speeding up global warming and climate change. And then on the flip side, as plastics start to break down in the environment, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they actually give off a lot of methane, which is an even more potent greenhouse gas, is also trapping more heat into our atmosphere and driving climate change. So 8% of the world's oil production is currently used to make plastics, but that's expected to rise to about 20% by 2050. And that's just not that far away. So as we are shifting to more renewable sources of energy, the oil and gas companies are looking for new ways to make money, and they found a really easy way with plastics. They're just going to keep making more and more plastic products that we can't live without, and then they're going to have a never-ending revenue stream. So a new report from the advocacy group Beyond Plastics argues that plastics are on track to be a bigger driver of climate change than coal is currently. So that's something that we've been thinking about at Plastic Free MKE for a while, and it's nice to see that get some wider recognition because it's a pretty big concern. So that's kind of like the global scale. If we zoom in a little bit closer to home and look at the Great Lakes, plastics wind up in our environment in a lot of different ways. And in the Great Lakes, plastics on the ground get washed into our rivers and the lakes. So anything on the ground will get picked up by water or wind or gravity and water, which is the lowest point, and flow into the Great Lakes. So in the oceans, you may have heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. There's actually 5 big garbage patches floating around in our oceans all over the world. The biggest one is in the Pacific. It's 3 times the size of France. So that is a huge amount of plastic. It's on the surface and it's all the way down in the water column as well. So it's a lot of plastic. But the benefit of those plastic islands is that it's all concentrated in 5 places all over the world. In the Great Lakes, our currents don't work that way. They swirl around and they push plastics towards the beaches, and so it's much harder to clean up and quantify in the Great Lakes. The other major difference between the oceans and the Great Lakes is that in the oceans, plastic could literally be coming from anywhere in the world. They're finding plastics on very, very isolated islands that are from the US and Canada and France and everywhere, because ocean currents really do spread everything around the world. But in the Great Lakes, all of the plastic in our lakes, it's our plastic. It's coming from the Great Lakes region. We don't have anyone else to blame for that. And then, what is it? About 22 million pounds of plastics enter the Great Lakes every year, and 11 million pounds are entering our lake, Lake Michigan. And that's because we have the biggest population centers right on the Great Lakes. So Milwaukee, Chicago, even Grand Rapids and other cities are really feeding the plastics going into Michigan. So 11 million pounds of plastics entering Lake Michigan a year. We know this through studies from our partners like Alliance for the Great Lakes. So this is their 2019 beach pickup data, and it shows that 80 to 90% of all aquatic litter in the Great Lakes region is plastic. It's quite a bit. So once it enters our waterways, it comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. Sometimes there's little plastic pieces that are just brought straight into our waterways, like nurdles, which are, if you've never heard of them, little plastic pellets that are usually melted down and turned into other types of plastic. So sometimes those will get spilled or contaminated in other ways in our lakes. And then our clothing is, a lot of our clothing anymore is synthetic. And that's actually a code word for plastic. So anytime you wear synthetic clothing, you're going to be shedding fibers, just like lint and things like that, which you might be breathing in. Every time you do laundry, those synthetic fibers are getting washed into your wastewater, which goes straight into, it's either treated and straight into Lake Michigan. But they can't take those little plastic fibers out. So that's one way that plastics gets into our environment. The other way is like, think about like plastic litter on our streets and in our storm drains and things like that. Those through wave action and wind action in the sun get broken down into smaller and smaller pieces until we call them microplastics. And so that's how plastic is getting into our waterways. And when they do that, they don't just stay in our waterways, they actually interact with us as well. So thinking about those little tiny pieces of plastic, they enter the food chain through every step of the way, really, from the little tiny like zooplankton, which are the microscopic creatures that everything relies on in the Great Lakes, all the way up to the bigger fish. All of those critters we're finding have plastic in their guts. And then, of course, we eat that fish. That's an important part of our diet. And so we're often eating food that has plastic in it or has the toxins left from plastic in it. And those little fibers that I mentioned earlier, they can't really get pulled out of our drinking water easily. 40 million people around the Great Lakes region, including us here in Milwaukee, we get our drinking water from the Great Lakes, and our treatment systems can't easily filter out those plastic fibers. So 93% of bottled water and 100% of beer brewed in the Great Lakes region has been found to have microplastics in it, as well as 85% of the fish from the Milwaukee River were found to have plastic fibers in their intestinal tract. And globally, research has shown that the average person eats a credit card worth of plastic every week. So that's coming from our air, our water, our food, and there's really no avoiding it. You can't eat a cleaner diet, a healthier diet to avoid it. It's just going to be there. And so this is a little troubling. And one reason is that plastic is made of a lot of different chemicals. Scientists are still researching the specific long-term effects of these chemicals in our bodies. But this slide kind of shows some of the early research. There's hormone disruptors, it's been linked to cancer and infertility and all of these other issues. And so plastics in the environment also have been found to absorb toxins out of the water. So if there's toxins in our Great Lakes, then our plastic, which is already toxic, is absorbing more toxins, and then it's getting into our drinking water and into our foods. So these chemicals don't just pass through our bodies, they get stored in our fatty tissues and our liver and all these fun, our muscles, all these fun places until our bodies can detoxify them. And like I said, we just don't know. There's not enough research to show what, if any, impacts those chemicals are having. Maybe they're not having much of an impact, but there's just not enough research to fully understand that yet. So why are plastics so hard to fix? It's not a simple solution because it's a really big problem. Learning about plastic pollution can lead to some shame about our consumer choices. We tend to blame ourselves for like, oh man, I had a salad that was wrapped in plastic the other day. I shouldn't have done that. But it's really important to understand the difficulty of solving this plastic issue. We need to destigmatize plastic use a little bit and transfer the blame and the accountability from individual consumers to where it really belongs, which is the whole system. So we can all make choices to keep ourselves and our planet healthier. But to really fix this problem, we're going to need more than just consumers making an effort. And so those are some of the things that Plastic Free MKE focuses on, is how can we make this a whole system solution? Taking a look really quickly at the system of plastic pollution, every step of the way, again, plastics is harming human and environmental health, from extraction of the fossil fuels that are used to make plastic, from production to where it's sold, consumers, and to how it's disposed of. And usually, like I said, the only way to actually get rid of plastics is to burn it. So as consumers, we only have control over one of those steps. And we're going to need some regulation or some other help to kind of influence those other steps along the way. And even as consumers, it's really challenging to make good decisions because plastic is hidden in a lot of places where we wouldn't expect it. So metal cans are often lined with plastic. Our liquid, like shampoos and conditioners and sunscreens and those things, often have a liquid plastic in them to make them more spreadable. And then even thinking about a lot of our food products, right? Like so much of our food and other consumer goods come wrapped in plastic. Some tea bags are plastic now. So just like it's showing up in all of these little ways that we wouldn't necessarily expect, which makes it really, really hard to get rid of. I mentioned that legislation is one way to help curb that, the plastic waste. Unfortunately, in Wisconsin, we have something called a preemptive ban in place. And so this is a law that says that we are not allowed, no municipality in Wisconsin is allowed to ban or tax or put fees on any type of container, and that includes bags, cups, other types of containers. So there's no way for the city of Milwaukee, for example, to ban plastic bags or tax plastic bags or put a ban on styrofoam. And those are two of the hardest types of plastics to get rid of for consumers. Milwaukee was able to, through a little bit of a loophole, ban straws, single-use plastic straws, and that's because straws don't contain anything. So we kind of got around that a little bit. And there are current legislative actions at the state level to ban styrofoam and repeal this ban on bans and make it a little bit easier for communities that want to make a difference to actually start to get rid of some of their plastic, but that's not made a lot of headway. Another quick note on straws and straw bans is that plastic-free MKE in the city of Milwaukee, we're really careful to include language in the straw ban that exempts plastic straw usage for folks that might need it. If you look at this chart here, you'll see that all of the other different types of straws that are available have some issues that don't work for everyone. So you might be at a restaurant, even though now the straw ban isn't in effect in Milwaukee, if you might be somewhere and see someone ask for a plastic straw, they might have a hidden disability or need that we don't know of that might cause them to actually need that plastic straw. So for accessibility purposes, the city of Milwaukee was really careful to make sure that that's still an option for the folks who really truly need it. But we're sending information out over the next few weeks that really encourages businesses, food businesses especially, to take a look at the straws that they're using. So all of that sounds really depressing and it's not really uplifting. So we're going to get to the positive part of this presentation where we can actually take action steps to help. So like I mentioned, a lot of this is beyond our control, but there are a lot of things that we can do to be a part of the solutions. Our goal is progress. It's never perfection. We just want everyone thinking about how they can, make a few steps here and there. We don't need, just a couple people working really hard and living completely plastic-free lives, because that's quite honestly probably not attainable at this point, but also it's just really hard. It's not sustainable for anyone to keep that up. So instead of trying to live a completely plastic-free life, we just encourage people to make good choices when they can and just be informed about the choices that they are making. So if you are able to take on new plastic-free challenges in your life, we encourage you to start small, to start with one thing, see how it fits into your life, see if it works for you, and then add on from there. So one of the ways that we can all help keep plastics out of our environment and out of our waterways is, of course, to just pick up litter. Super simple, the whole family can get involved. It's really easy. It can be a lot of fun, especially when there's nice weather. And this is a really great part of the solution. We call it a Band-Aid solution though, because it's not going to fix everything. Even if we were able to pick up all of the trash and keep it out of our drinking water, there's still just going to be more and more plastic produced. So it's definitely important, but it can't be our only solution. Milwaukee Riverkeeper and some of our partners like Keep Greater Milwaukee Beautiful and the City of Milwaukee's Doorstep Cleanup Program, these are great partners that work to get, Milwaukee Riverkeeper picks up 150,000 pounds of trash every year with our volunteers. And I know those other organizations pick up a lot as well. So we are doing a lot and we provide supplies and resources for everyone to get involved. But we know we can't stop there. So another solution that we often hear about is recycling. It's great if we can all just recycle our plastics. And this is the solution that many fossil fuel and chemical companies really advertise. They really want to make sure that consumers know that it's our responsibility to recycle properly and the problem will be solved. Not that simple, unfortunately. Recycling is pretty tough, actually. There's a lot of different rules we have to follow to do it right. And it's really important that we follow those rules, because if we're throwing things into our recycling bins that don't actually belong there, it actually causes more harm than good. That's something called wish cycling. So it's important to be really clear on what is and is not recyclable in your community. So here's what's recyclable in Milwaukee. Milwaukee Recycle for Good website has a ton of great resources on what is and is not recyclable. And the reason for this is that recycling is actually an economic market. So Milwaukee has to be able to sell our recycled trash in order to be able to fund the program and keep it going. So if they get crap, like trash, actual trash, or dirty plastic or plastic that isn't recyclable, then that cuts into the market of what they're able to get. And sometimes they have to throw out whole big sections of what we've tried to recycle because it's so contaminated. So Plastic Free MKE recently hosted a webinar all on recycling. If you're interested, it is on our Facebook page. And it's we worked with the Department of Public Works to put that together. And there's a lot of great information in there about what is recyclable and ways to prevent wish cycling and contamination, those other things. Downcycling is another term that is pretty important to understand. So unlike glass or metal, which are recyclable infinitely, plastics can only be recycled a couple times before it needs to be landfilled. And it can't be turned into plastics forever. Another challenge with recycling is that it's a kind of extractive market. It takes a lot of space, a lot of labor, a lot of resources. And the communities that wind up doing a lot of the recycling, which a lot of Western countries tend to just send our recycling overseas to poorer countries that need the revenue, but then they're also taking on the environmental and human health harms that come with recycling. So it's not a great solution from that perspective as well. Another thing we can all do is try and reduce our plastic usage. This is awesome when you can. So thinking about, can you reuse your water bottle? Can you buy or make a reusable bag? Can you shop secondhand first? We always encourage people to use what they have first, then borrow or shop for secondhand items, and then buy something new that's high quality and that's going to last a long time and hopefully is not made of plastic. This can be really challenging though. Sometimes reusable and sustainable materials are not available everywhere, or they're really expensive to purchase up front, and the single-use items are just what we can afford right now. So there's a lot of challenges here. But if this is something that you're interested in, we encourage you to sign our pledge on our website. And this is just to kind of encourage you and try and hold you a little bit accountable to the items that you're trying to reduce in your life. There's 5 different options there. And again, we encourage you to start with one and then add on if you're able. One of the most important things that we can all do is act with others. We say get drastic about plastic with others. This is something that we're going to need everyone thinking about a little bit. So talk to your family, talk to your friends, and most importantly, talk to your elected officials. So all of the solutions we've talked about so far still put the burden of responsibility on us as individual consumers. But at Plastic Free MKE, we believe that we need to change the whole system to really make an impact so that we as consumers have better choices. Right now, we don't always have great choices to make when it comes to sustainable products. So in order to accomplish this, our elected leaders really need to hear from us and understand how important it is that we get top-down leadership and legislation from them on the plastics issue. So speaking of collective action, I'll talk to you a little bit about what Plastic Free is. Plastic Free MKE is a coalition of local nonprofits, government agencies, businesses, and grassroots activists. And we're all working together to reduce Milwaukee's dependence on single-use plastics. We've done initiatives like we've taken our plastic bag monster to grocery stores and talked to consumers about, maybe trying to reduce your plastic bag consumption today. The average person in the United States uses between 500 and 1,500 single-use plastic bags every year. And a lot of those wind up in landfills or just out in the environment. So if we can start to cut down on that number, it'll make a big difference. We've also supported zero waste events and runs. We've helped both the city and the county change their purchasing protocol to be a little bit more sustainable and to cut down on plastics where they could. We've supported community events with water refill stations so that the events don't have to use as many single-use plastic water bottles to keep their folks hydrated. We have a lake-friendly business program, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. And then we do a lot of community outreach and education like this. We've also done a lot of webinars. We have another one coming up, and I'm going to pause real quickly to put the registration link to that webinar in the chat for you all. So on December 13th, we're hosting a webinar. It's going to be a film screening of the film Closing the Loop, and it's going to talk about circular economies. Should be really fun. But we've been doing really great, fun, informative webinars with our partners over the past couple of years. So this is a little bit about our Lake Friendly program. So we work with businesses. We just brought a new business into the membership program on Wednesday. So we'll get the slides updated and include their logos on there. But these businesses have all agreed to reduce their plastic consumption in these 6 ways. And we're working on creating this program and expanding it for other types of businesses and other groups. For instance, Sherman Park Eco Neighborhood is really interested in figuring out how to be a plastic-free or lake-friendly neighborhood. So we're going to start working on programs like that too, so that we can start to really build out this lake-friendly, plastic-free programming for all of our businesses and organizations that we're a part of. Here's some photos from our refill station events. We had both mobile and stationary options. We had volunteers with bikes hauling water along so that people in marches and protests could stay hydrated, plastic free while they were involved in their community events. And yeah, there's just lots of other ways that we're working to kind of turn off the tap on plastics in Milwaukee. We know that many hands are going to make light work of this really tenacious challenge. We're really proud of what we've accomplished so far, and we're really excited and inspired to see what comes up for us next. We're starting to talk to hospitals and other business groups and business incubators to work on plastics reduction at a larger scale. We're working on a citywide reusable container system that's accessible for everyone. And we also know that in Sherman Park, you all are a super close-knit community with lots of events and gatherings and initiatives. And so we want to be a resource for you. So if we can provide water refill stations or help reduce waste at community events, or want to get more volunteers involved in something, please reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to be to be more connected with you all, and hopefully we'll find a way for Sherman Park to be a plastic-free community as well. So I'm going to drop a couple more links in the chat. This is the Plastic Free MKE website and my email address. So feel free to reach out to us. I'm also going to put the info, the plastic free email address in there. There we go. So you can reach out to Nicole as well. And yeah, we're just really excited to be connected with you all. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'd be really happy to answer any questions or just kind of have a chat about anything that I brought up.
That was great and troubling at the same time.
I know it's a tough subject.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're addressing this and with positive energy and trying to encourage all of us to be engaged on the local level and working on legislation and trying to make a difference in reducing the amount of plastic that we're dependent upon. Thank you, Leah. And we'll take a few minutes and Leah's is open to questions that you might have related to the plastic-free movement. And I'm assuming that a lot of the information is available on the plastic-free website, including the information about the screening of the movie on Monday.
Yep,
And
you can find all that information. We've got a lot of resources on our website. So if you're curious about anything, we encourage you to check it out.
And the movie is called Closing the Loop, correct?
Yep.
And what's the main focus of the movie?
It's on circular economies. So thinking about how we make and transport and buy and sell and dispose of products, and trying to keep that loop closed versus right now when we make stuff, it's almost always designed to be thrown away at some point. So how do we close that loop, and how do we make our economy so that we can still make money and support businesses and support families and all that good stuff without producing so much waste?
Great, thanks. Questions that anybody has? Yes, Ann.
Hi, Leah. Thanks for the presentation. I have 2 questions. One, how do we get fresh drinking water? I mean, if it's in the bottled water and it's in our tap water, what do we do?
Yeah, it's a conundrum. It's in our bottled water and it's in our tap water. Yeah.
Does the filter on your faucet help at all with that?
Probably to some extent, yes, I would assume yes. But if the filters that are on our drinking water, Milwaukee Water Works is producing some of the cleanest water in the country. It's not always as clean when it gets to us, but when it leaves Milwaukee Water Works, it is very, very clean. And if they aren't able to easily filter it out, then I'm not sure how effective household filters are. So until we can find ways to stop the plastics from getting into our water in the first place, we might just kind of be stuck for a while. There's not really an easy way to filter that out, unfortunately.
Okay. And then the second question is, I will take any plastic bags I have, or like my newspaper in the morning comes in a plastic bag, and I store it in a Aldi's bag, and then when it gets really full, I take it to Target and put it in their recycling. What happens with those bags?
Excellent question. So those big retailers that are able to store those, or to take those back, they store them until they have a really huge amount of them. And then they do sell them to a recycler that turns them into benches. Some of that, like one of the slides had a picture of like wood plank flooring. It's made of plastic, so like they'll turn it into floors, things like that. So that really thin plastic is one of those things that can only be recycled once. So that's a perfect example of downcycling, right? It can be turned into a bench, and then when that bench is done, those fibers are so degraded they can't be turned into anything else. So they do get used, which is the good news. It's really important that we're not putting those, and you are doing the perfect thing by taking it back to Target. You cannot put those in your curbside recycling. It will damage the machinery and actually causes hazards for the workers who are there. So please, please, please do not put any thin filmy plastics in your curbside recycling bin, but take them to Target, take them to Pick and Save, Walmart. I think Aldi maybe does too. Some of the smaller places had to stop accepting them because they really need to have like a semi-truck load of them before they can sell them. And that's a lot of plastic bags. So retailers have a much easier time of recycling those.
So thank you, Leah. Annie Young is asking, are there upcycle small businesses that we can support? For example, a large business that might donate corporate banners to a sewing business that makes reusable bags. So, are there upscale small businesses that we can support that you're aware of? And you've got some that have taken the pledge, and those are available on your website. But what about some upscale small businesses that you'd recommend?
That's a great question. One of our favorite businesses to support is the Glass Pantry. They are a no plastic waste grocery store, but they have like a lot of household goods, teas and spices and pantry supplies, but also laundry soap and shampoo and conditioner. And my favorite are like the little toilet bowl cleaner thingies. Makes cleaning my bathroom a breeze. So all sorts of really fun products, and nothing is sold in single-use plastics. What
was the name of that again?
The Glass Pantry. It's
the
on
Glass Pantry. Okay.
In Walker's Point. They are a member of the coalition, so they're not a Lake Friendly business, because right now Lake Friendly is focused on food service businesses, but they are a member of the coalition, as is Outpost Natural Food Co-op, River West Co-op, and a few other businesses. And then all those food service businesses as well are Lake Friendly, and they're trying to do the best they can to reduce their plastic consumption.
Great. Dynasty Caesar, our eco partner, has her hand up. Dynasty, what question would you have?
Hi, Leah, and hi, Pastor Tim, and everyone. I just wanted to know what do you drink? Like, tell us what to drink.
I'm so sorry I've bummed you all out about water. It's needed for life, right? It's so important, it's vital. I drink tap water. I also have lead water in my home, so I do use a zero water filter. That's one of the ones that was recommended on. I know like the city of Milwaukee has a whole page of recommended water filters, and so that's where I found out about that one. My water tastes great. I certainly don't notice any plastic that's in it. So yes, I do drink tap water. It's more regulated than bottled water. Bottled water, in addition to having the microfibers in there, the water also leaches toxins out of the plastic that it's in. So like if that plastic water bottle is in a hot warehouse or in a hot truck, which you're never going to know about, or if it's like sitting in your hot car, the hotter that plastic gets, the more it's going to be leaching those toxins into the water. So on top of just having plastic in it, plastic water bottles make me nervous for that reason. I know sometimes you just can't avoid it, right? Like you're out and you need water, and that's what you do. So, I definitely, drink plastic water bottles occasionally, but I try and avoid them as much as possible. So tap water is my beverage of choice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So, so what was the name of the filter you use? Anne was asking.
Zero Water is the brand.
Okay. So
The city of
again, I want
Milwaukee
to,
does have a nice list on their website of really good filters that actually work really well. So
great. So Leah, thank you so much. We encourage people to look at the Plastic Free Milwaukee website and learn more, and hope we'll no doubt have some more ideas from Nicole about ways that we can reduce plastic. Lauren, did you want to ask a question before we move on to the next phase? Go ahead.
I just had another comment about the filters. I don't know if this is on the city's list, but I have a Berkey filter to filter out lead, which is not one that attaches to the faucet. It's a separate container that sits on my counter. But it has a black carbon filter, and that is said to be good at filtering out microplastics. And I think from what I read on their site that they said reverse osmosis filters are also good at filtering out plastics.
Great.
thank you
Good
for
to
that.
know.
So if that's the case, Milwaukee does use reverse osmosis, right? And they also have the, what you call it, the blue light, or the, I forget what it is. I know Milwaukee's process is pretty thorough. So there's a good chance that our tap water has less plastic than other tap water.
Thank you for
The
sharing.
name of that in the chat, sorry.
Yeah, no. Berkey. What was that, Lauren? Yeah, so Lauren's going to Berkey, Berkey. And so thank you everybody for sharing. That's one of the wonderful benefits of these webinars, is that we share ideas. And after we take a brief intermission to look at a video that was recently produced by our Eco office on the ME2 program that features our own Steve O'Connell and Ann. Steve will bring us back together, and Nicole is going to share a few slides about how to green the holidays and reduce the plastic during the holiday season. And then Steve's gonna share another piece about green gift giving. And then we're gonna open it up and share our ideas about things that we have given and received that we would consider to be eco-friendly gifts. So thanks, Leah, again, and take it away, Milwaukee Eco Office, and the webinar, or not the webinar, the video on the ME2 program. And thanks, Steve, for hosting the second half. So the sound is not coming through from me. There we go.
Let's try again.
Because we've been talking
Can you
about
hear it now?
especially
There you go.
insulation and our new furnace ought to be for 36 years. My name is Steve O'Connell, and we've lived in this house for 36 years. Some of the problems we've had with our house is just the age of the house and basically the leakiness of the house. We decided, Ann and I, because we've been talking about especially insulation and our new furnace, how to begin to make our house less drafty. The ME2 program really got us focused on what we needed to do. And then once we evaluated the house, then we knew what we needed.
We get a lot of questions from people reaching out to us wondering what can they do in their home to cut utility bills, to make their home more comfortable, to help address climate change at home. And almost inevitably, the first thing I tell them is it's time to get an energy assessment, because there are so many things that take place underneath one roof, and it's important to know what those all are. So when you have a professional contractor who has a background in energy assessment come to your home, they're going to look at things like your water heater, your furnace, but also your insulation, windows, walls itself. And we're going to use tests to determine, do you have air leaks in the home? Where is heat being lost? It's very scientific to help people identify what improvements can they make that hit that great aim of good for the person, good for the planet, to save money and reduce carbon emissions.
The assessment, we really didn't know what to expect. With our new windows and new furnace, things of that nature, new air conditioner, things should be pretty good. It wasn't. Once we started the assessment, we were amazed at how many drafty areas we had in the house.
The one thing that we tell people is we will happily let you know where improvements in your house can be made. We often can help you, but you don't have to work with us necessarily. There are many tremendously talented contractors all throughout Milwaukee and Milwaukee County. We will show you with much of the diagnostic equipment that we have where that heat loss is, where the air leakages are. And we'll write a report for you that shows you what steps maybe you can take yourself. For the kind of do-it-yourself kind of person, we'll show it to you and make sure that you feel that we are giving you as much information as possible, because the important thing is you act, not that you have to go with any one company.
If we really want to help our ecology, we have to start at home. Your house has to be well sealed. Your house has to be ecologically sound. And if we're wasting a lot of electricity, we're wasting a lot of heat. That's energy that really should not be wasted, especially in older homes like ours. But Sherman Park, these houses are gorgeous. And if we can get these houses sealed and these houses much more ecologically sound, I think we'll help out the universe, literally.
And amen to that. Thank you, Steve and Ann. And some of you recognize Kevin Kane from Green Homeowners, one of the organizations that does this kind of assessment and the work. Some of us have benefited from working with Kevin. And if you're interested in more information about the program, I would encourage you to talk to Jermaine and Mabel at the SPCA office. Dynasty, I'm assuming that you would receive inquiries as well at ECO office. Is that correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. And if you want testimonials from any of us, I'm sure some of us would be willing to connect with you as well. But we wanted to show that to you because that was just recently created. And there is some of the funding that was made available in this year is going to continue into the early part of next year. So it's not too late to get on board with some of the 2021 funds that were provided through the ME2 program, which has been a great program for a lot of us. So Steve, I'm going to pass it on to you and and Nicole as our first presenter, and peace be with everyone. Stay green and may the holidays be greener.
You too, Tim.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks.
Good job. One of the things before we move on to our next part, we also looked at our water usage and different plumbing devices that Kevin put in the house. And we just got our bill the other day. Our average gallon usage, daily usage went from 115 gallons down to 99. And that's just in this is our first quarter after we made the changes in our plumbing. And that's pretty amazing. And our average use last year was 107 gallons. And now we're down to 99. And knowing that we did some watering of the garden in August, we started to run out of water because of the dry summer. So we did not have rain barrels with water. So we had to use the spigot water. So I'm thinking that average will come down even more so with us just in our house during the winter. So we saw an automatic savings right away, just with the water savings types of devices that we had. So, okay, our last part I'm excited about just because here's our community. Here are all the folks, a lot of you folks have been on throughout the year. This is our chance just to kind of talk about our holiday gifts and things of that nature, and to kind of share what are some of the ideas that we've had. These webinars have been amazing. The ideas that we've just kind of percolated up through our conversations. And I thought this would be a great way to end the year. What would be some green ideas that we would have? So Nicole, you want to kick off to get us started as we start our conversation?
Yeah, definitely. Just give me 1 second to share my screen.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm Nicole Chavez, and I work with Leah at Milwaukee Riverkeeper. I'm actually an AmeriCorps member, and I'm serving as the sustainability coordinator with Milwaukee Riverkeeper. And through that, I'm serving as the volunteer coordinator with Plastic Free MKE. And I'm just here to talk about how plastic infiltrates our holiday celebrations in so many ways. From hosting dinner guests to purchasing and wrapping our gifts, plastic is everywhere. So I'll be sharing some tips with everyone on ways we can reduce our plastic waste this holiday season. So I'll start with in the kitchen. So one way we can reduce plastic in the kitchen is to simply use our own regular dishes and silverware instead of single-use plastic cutlery, styrofoam plates, plastic cups, that kind of thing. Yeah, just really try to use your own reusable dinnerware instead of single-use plastics. There's also a huge amount of plastic packaging that comes with cooking meals. And Leah mentioned the glass pantry earlier, and that is a store that allows you to bring in your own containers, and then you just fill your own containers up with your bulk food items. So that way there's no plastic packaging involved. So yeah, they're local and they're part of our Plastic Free MKE coalition. One thing you can do is pack your leftovers in cleaned to-go containers. If you have any lying around, just clean those out and reuse those. If you're going to be going to someone else's house for a meal, you can bring your own containers for leftovers. That way it'll save Ziploc bags and plastic wrap and that kind of thing from being used. If you can, compost and recycle anything that you're able to. If you're going to be recycling any plastic or glass, you want to make sure that it's cleaned out really well before you put it in your recycling bin. And if you can, swap plastic wrap for reusable beeswax wraps. I don't know if anyone out there has used them, but there are a lot of different brands and they actually do work pretty well and they are reusable for quite some time. All right, so going to gift wrapping. So this is something I wasn't really aware of until I started working with Plastic Free MKE, but traditional wrapping paper often contains plastic. So any kind of metallic sheen or glitter, that's all going to be made out of plastic. So avoiding these products that are just going to end up in a landfill helps a lot. And there are plenty of ways to wrap gifts without traditional wrapping paper, and you can get really creative. So you can recycle paper grocery bags or old newspapers to make your own wrapping paper. You can decorate those with like chalk, twine, like sprigs of pine, and that way everything will be either recyclable or compostable. Just make sure when you're decorating your own reusable wrapping paper that you're not using a lot of paints or a lot of inks, because if you use too much of that, then the paper won't be recyclable anymore. And also be careful with the amount of tape that you use, because tape is made of plastic and it's also not recyclable. Another fun way to wrap gifts is in fabric, scarves, or kitchen towels. And these are items that you can try to thrift instead of buying new ones. So that's a fun thing you can do. If you do wrap your gifts in any kind of fabric and the person that's receiving the gift doesn't want to keep the fabric, you can always reclaim it after the gift has been opened and use it again the following year. You can put gifts in reusable shopping bags as well. So got like 2 gifts in one. And you can plan ahead for the next holiday season by saving any wrapping paper, gift bags, bows, anything like that. Or if you have anything that's left over from the previous year, use that instead of buying new. All right, and then my last slide is going to be about gift giving. So there are a lot of ways to reduce plastic waste when you're purchasing and giving gifts. Some examples are to give gifts that encourage plastic-free lifestyle changes. So for example, reusable water bottles, reusable straws, shopping bags, that kind of thing. You can even put together a to-go container kit, which would consist of like reusable containers for you to put food in, forks, knives, a reusable straw. So that way, if you're going out to a restaurant, you're going to have all of your to-go containers handy. So if you have leftovers, you don't need to use one of their plastic containers to take anything home. You want to support local businesses and thrift shops to find unique one-of-a-kind gifts. By shopping local, you're not going to have all that plastic waste from the shipping. So if you're shopping online, there's a lot of plastic waste that comes in packaging and shipping gifts. So by shopping local, you're going to save a lot of plastic waste by doing that. You can also gift an experience instead of giving an actual gift. You can also do like a donation to someone's favorite charity in their name. That's one of my favorite gifts. I do that every year. Yeah, and there's also nothing wrong with regifting. So if you have a product in your house that you don't use, maybe it's something that you got for a gift that you just never used it, and you know that there's someone on your holiday list that could use it, regift it. It'll give an old product new life, and then it won't end up just being wasted. All right, and that was about all that I had. So thank you, everyone. I'm gonna give it back to Steve now. I know he's got a little bit more information on Green Holiday Giving, so I will hand it back
Nicole,
to him.
thank you. So kind of you. That's great. Good, good, good. So Ben, do you want to pull up the document that we got from Mike? When we started talking about this, right away, I thought of Mike Howden. Well, he and his business over on Valete Street, he would have some good, just starter ideas for us to start thinking about some novel gifts and things of that nature. So I just asked him to kind of put together a little list for us to get us started. The first thing he did, which is kind of interesting, he thought about David Boucher over at Amaranth. And he thought, well, I'll go over and talk to David, see what he says. And he gave us our 10 top eco approaches to running a small business. His idea is that we can adapt this into our lifestyles, businesses that we frequent or businesses that we're a part of, or even where we work. You know, and his big thing obviously was restoring that building over there and reusing it for his bakery, basically. And then the whole thing of composting, he talked about that. The whole thing of minimal packaging, just as Nicole mentioned, when you're wrapping things, reusing things that way, rather than going into the landfill, as it were. And then exactly as we saw in our eco thing, ME2, high energy star rated heating and cooling equipment, and how he adapted that to his business. And so that they're being very energy efficient, as it were, in the solar hot water heater. And then the last one was kind of interesting, which I think we should all think about. Lauren, this is kind of where you come into the picture. A relationship with suppliers that are basically farms, using organic growing methods and things of that nature. And his grains and his flour come from small mills here in the state. And so his thing was, when we're doing our shopping, to basically look at locals and use local food purveyors. So he talked about that. And that's just kind of David's kind of New Year's resolutions as we're thinking about the holiday season. Then Mike went on to talk about his business experience and where he basically drew some of the items that they had in their shop. And the Taval chocolates in Wauwatosa, for instance, Rishi tea, and how to reach out to them, Collectivo, and some of the different blends that they use for, and asking them where they come from. And he found the one that came from a farmer's co-op. And so just kind of asking about the coffee, the blends that they use. Same with Mount Meru coffee. And these are available through some of the Lutheran churches and how they're supporting third world nations, as it were, producing their own fair trade coffees. And then the fair trade, the Plowshare shop out in Waukesha, he suggested, now that his place isn't open anymore, to look at Plowshare out in Waukesha. And then actually the Madison Fair Trade Festival was last weekend, the 4th. But he threw it in there just to kind of put it on our calendar for next year. And then these were some of the catalogs that he used for fair trade products. So serve and the 10,000 villages, and he gave us the links for those. So if you're interested in looking at shopping for fair trade products for Christmas items, he suggested those two links for us. And those were links that he used at his fair trade store down on Bleat Street when it was in operation. So just asking Michael just to give us some leads. So that's leads for you. You know what? I'll put on the chat, my email address. And if you want this document, you can just email me and then I'll send it on to you so that you'll have it for the links that he's got on there. So, so let's open it up for discussion. The one thing the other day at church was the whole thing of all the different kinds of garden utensils, shovels, little hand trowels, things of that nature for individuals that have disabilities. And the Gardener Supply is my best connection for that. They've got a lot of good ideas, a lot of products for individuals with arthritis and things of that nature. And UW Extension, believe it or not, they have all kinds of different ideas and how to, where to shop for garden tools for individuals who are challenged. So that was the thing I was going to throw out as we begin the discussion. So ideas from folks, eco ideas for gift giving.
No, in the past, I've given for Christmas gifts food, either canned food or fresh fruit and cheeses, things like that. So, you know, it's easy on the environment. It goes right in your stomach. The cans you can recycle. That always seems to go over well. Or you can get, like, go to what is that spice shop?
Oh, Penzies.
A lot of even like I went to Pick and Save and found Saigon cinnamon. It's a little stronger than the kind you get that's kind of a generic. But if you send that to someone who's a baker, and they would really appreciate some nice spices, and then you could either recycle the bottles or reuse them for something. So
yeah, Penzies is great for that.
yeah, Penzies, that's it.
Don't let me lose some Penzies. The girls say, don't go out of there without spending $100. They used to tease me. Catherine. Oops, you're still on, Catherine, you're still on mute. There you go.
I've given bar shampoo,
Ooh.
which I've started using, and I don't use, I use it exclusively. I don't have to use, I don't use conditioner anymore, and have no problem with my hair without conditioner. This is the one, this is called a Sunrise Shower Soap. It's at the co-op. But my daughter was just telling me about another, I mean, there are varieties of them and they work really well. So that's a good thing. The other thing I've started using and introducing other people to is Grove.
Ooh.
It's a supply place. They have household cleaners. They have all kinds of stuff. And their goal, and now here's an empty pouch. I have a glass bottle that I fill my hand soap with and my laundry soap and dish soap and so forth. And when I get enough of these pouches, Grove will send me a label so I can package this, send this back to Grove, and they'll recycle this.
Wow.
Their goal is to have all plastic-free goods by 2025. But in the meantime, they have these pouches, which have been, it says our pouches contain 60% less plastic than a bottle of the same size.
Wow.
So you might want to look that place up.
And where did you get that at?
You go online.
Online? Okay.
It's an online thing. So it's Grove and they have
Okay.
all different kinds of things. I just found, when my whole family isn't here, I use a smaller garbage container. So I don't have to use a huge plastic bag. And they have recycle or compostable smaller garbage bags that I can use in the kitchen. And they're
Wow.
equally, or they're strong enough for, I'm one person.
Which co-op did you get that bar shampoo at?
At the Outpost.
Outpost?
Yeah. But I think my daughter just told me, I think she's got one at Trader Joe's, maybe, a bar soap. The one thing I'll caution you when you use it, close your eyes really tightly, because if you get any in your eyes, it really burns more than regular shampoo does. So I shampoo my hair blind for a few minutes.
I believe that. That's great. So you give those as gifts, Catherine?
Yeah, I've given those, yeah.
That's cool. That's great.
Mhm.
Other ideas?
Was kind of along what Ann was saying, but my parents recently bought a property. They moved to a house that has a ton of apple trees. And so now every year they send me home with boxes of apples. And I, like one person, I cannot eat all these apples. So I started making apple butter. And all my friends like little jars of apple butter. So
Nice.
good. It's delicious. I always make some extra for myself too. And then I just have it all my apples are in the freezer in apple butter form.
That's great.
Another gift idea are candles, and oftentimes you can get candles that come in reusable. I mean, you can repurpose the jar when you're done with the candle.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Good. Leah,
Or
what about
even
that
a-
apple butter?
Yeah.
You haven't even
Or even a
responded
gift
over there.
certificate, to a specialty store that they maybe wouldn't shop at because it's maybe a little, beyond their budget, like get a $10 gift certificate to Outpost or something special. Although that's plastic, the gift certificate. Maybe not, I don't know.
Some of them come in paper form.
So I like to crochet a lot. So I have
Nice.
made crocheted bags, like reusable shopping bags, and like makeup removing pads using like cotton yarn. And I've given those as gifts. So there was no plastic involved, and I was even able to thrift some of the yarn from like Goodwill or other thrift stores.
Wow.
Nice.
That's great. That's really nice. Yeah, we got somebody that's crocheting mittens and hats for our blessing box. That's going to be her Christmas gift to whoever comes to the blessing box. And they're lovely. She did them last year also. Wow. They're gone just like that.
And then of course with children, they're not going to want a crocheted hat, but there's got to be some little thing you can give them that kind of teaches them slowly but surely to think about the environment and their desires to have a gift. Yeah, a lot of gifts for Christmas.
My niece is, and I got her a gift certificate for rock climbing. She's really gotten into rock climbing lately. So
Mhm.
I give her books, but also experiences whenever I can, swimming lessons and rock climbing gift certificates and things like that.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Outdoor things, eh? Other things. Oh, there's Tao, Teresa.
Sorry. One of the things, my mother was famous for always doing this, which was giving away soap and also giving away like chocolate bars, like organic chocolate bars, the little ones, that are, the 70% cacao, anyways, like that. And also had thought of a gift that I had received recently is from a beekeeper. She's a beekeeper, and then so we received these jars of the honey that she harvested from her bees. So anyways, since we used to buy raw honey, the Callis honey, when they had their honey farm up on the 60th there, And so we still have some of the jars in every year. My mother, lovely person here, she goes and gets raw honey for us, which is really good for making your own crystallized honey, because we keep the whole crystallized form of honey. That's a very smooth one, and that's really delicious, because there's different crystallizations of honey, and you can make it so it's like a really smooth, like honey butter thing. So anyways, that's a really good thing to make your own honey butter out of the crystallized things and then give it away if you want to.
That's great. Thank you.
The other thing I was going to say is I know it sounds like I have this really aversion to plastic bags. So like bring all my, my bags around everywhere. But then like every once in a while I end up with plastic bags. So I thought, well, I bring them down to St. Catherine's food pantry. And I know that this like offloading the problem, but on the other hand, so other people, at least my consumption is down, and other people who still, think that that's normal can just, use, the thing, and it's sturdier. But if I need garbage bags, I'll actually just allow, Century to give me bags, and I swear to God, they give, the people that wrap it up, they like give me 8 bags for, goods that I can put all in my one bag, and I don't want to say anything. I don't want to fault people's idea of, trying to help me out, but then I have enough bags for like 3 months to like for my garbage, so I don't know. It's not a total solution, but I don't think anything's a total solution. And the other thing I do is like pick up, because we have a messy apartment right next to us, and so I just go around in the whole street, 3 houses up and down, and just like pick up garbage, and just because I hate the idea of it going in the drains, like, or the they'll like I have a county garden plot, so then they always have the composted, stuff, and there's always plastic in the compost, and now I have plastic all over my garden, so now I have to still pick it out because those plastic pieces are so small. So like I just do my own compost, rather than using, but I think it's so stupid that we have all this. We never used to have all this plastic going on, and it's clogging up drains, and I just hate that whole idea. Besides which, it's the whole thing, morally, ethically. Anyways, I just thought, well, I can't change the whole world, but I can change a few of my practices and like try to make it nicer. So I like your idea, Lauren. That was great.
When people were talking about clothes and that there are plastics in our clothing, I just was at Kohl's today, a department store, and I was buying some leggings for my grandchildren, and they have organic cotton leggings. I didn't realize that. So I guess more and more people are lomming onto the fact that you can get organic cotton.
Yeah, the clothing industry hides a lot of plastic. Anything that's synthetic is plastic or has plastic in it. Especially if you get into like the higher tech fabrics and things like that, which can be really beneficial and have a good purpose, right? But it's all about being mindful about what we're using, why and when and how we're disposing of it, right? Like the stuff is everywhere. It's impossible to avoid. It's really useful in some situations. So we just encourage folks to be really mindful about how they're using it and to understand that it's plastic, right? So it's so hidden. We don't know about it. We can't make those good choices. And so we just want folks to know what their products are actually made out of so that they can make different choices if they're able.
Could I give a shout out for a couple of ideas? Fleece garments. There's a new process for treating fleece, which of course is synthetic. LL Bean has something that there's a copyright on the process. I don't think LL Bean owns the copyright, but there's a process that keeps the fibers more intact, keeps them from breaking off in the washing and such. It's something to look for. I forget the name of the process. But the other thing, a shout out to a place that I like to get the soaps from now that Teresa gave my group idea of it. Floppy Ear Farm which is a goat farm up near Green Bay or De Pere, somewhere in De Pere. There. And they raise goats, and they make soap out of goat milk, which is wonderful soap. And they're reasonably priced, I'd say. And they ship. You can just enter Floppy Ear Farm on the and Google it and find the place. they tend to sell out by spring. So if you want the stuff, you have to, get on it. But they're really good about shipping, and they make wonderful hand lotions that keep your hands from flaking off, over the course of a winter. So my oldest granddaughter put me onto that because she was working near Green Bay a few years back, and she said, "Grandma, I found this wonderful place that sells goat milk products," and yeah, they do.
I know.
Anyhow,
It's up, kind of up on the ridges above the pier, or Bayview, whatever they call it up there.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because when I was at Penning's, it was starting up.
Mhm.
The goat farm. That's cool. Still around, eh?
Mhm.
Funky. Other ideas? Doris threw in love letters and newspaper, magazine articles to friends of yours that you think that they might want to read during the holiday. Doris, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. And then Joe posted an idea.
Oh, did he? I missed it.
Let's see. You can make your own seed paper for holiday cards. And then in the spring, they can
Oh, I
plant
see.
paper because it's compostable. He actually sent a link on how to make the paper and embed the seeds in it. That's a good, cute idea.
That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah, I've done that in the past. That's fun to do. How many of you bake as gifts for folks? Oh, good. You're not getting any of my stolen though. They're already
What's your address, Steve? We'll send you.
my stolen are already spoken for. And the sisters send me they still send me fruitcakes. I still get the fruitcakes. They're good fruitcakes though.
They last all year because nobody wants to eat them.
Oh, Catherine, here's a
What's
horrible
so
story.
good?
Good fruitcake goes really fast in my house.
This is a horrible story. One, because the teachers all knew that I like the fruitcake, so they all be packing it in my mailbox. So one day I was standing there, and I didn't see one of the elderly sisters was sitting behind me. I didn't see her. I said, "Oh, another brick for a pothole, Mr. O'Connell."
Right.
Oh, the poor nuns.
I'm currently working on making unpapered towels for people for gifts.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So
Making-
it's terry cloth. And so instead of using paper towels to do cleanup
Oh.
things, it's terry cloth and flannel essentially. So you can pick whatever designs you want. It doesn't have to be white where it shows stains all the time.
Yeah.
But you can still you still make a roll for them, and then you have them connected by snaps, so it can still be out on your counter to be used and easily accessible. But then you just throw them in your laundry, like with your dish rags and things.
Nice.
So you sew them, Lauren?
Yep.
Wow. Holy smokes. That sounds like work.
A little bit.
Jeez, that's for sure. Terry cloth. Now, do you give away any of your canned items? Do you do that?
I do usually in the year that I make them, and after
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
I make sure that the people that I give them to don't care if they're older than 1 year old.
It doesn't make any difference, though, does it? Or do you have it on
No,
there?
but some people care about things like
Oh,
that.
Can you explain what you're talking about?
Canned goods, or do you mean the
Oh,
paper
you
towel?
mean just regular canned goods? And
Just regular canned goods, yeah.
but how do they know if you canned it last summer or this summer?
Well, I put dates on all mine, so
That's
I
amazing.
know.
Oh,
I guess I
okay.
could try to put a sticker over it, but
Yeah. Make sure it's not indelible ink and just rub it off.
right.
No Sharpies in your household. Mabel, are you giving out any gifts this year? Memberships to Sherman Park, I hope.
I don't give away a whole lot.
Yeah,
Typically for my mom, it's kind of like, what do you give the person who's gotten everything?
that's true.
So that becomes challenging. So usually it's some perfume. Yeah. But I know I had talked to a couple of small vendors, local vendors, they who make maybe jelly or hot sauce or things like that. But I thought those would be good ideas or good gifts to give away. And just maybe utilizing one of the ideas that was already given, but wrapping it in some fabric and making that as a gift. So a food gift.
That'd be great.
Or
You
even a
know,
gift certificate to a favorite restaurant. Like when my
Yeah.
mother was in her later years and she didn't go out much, she loved Panera's. So
Mhm.
we'd always get her gift cards to Panera's and we would just call and they would deliver it. Or even pay for like a grocery store delivery service. Or pay somebody's electric bill for that month
Yeah.
or, if you can
Yeah.
afford it.
That's great, though. That's a great idea, especially the delivery, especially for older adults. That's a great idea. It's in the neighborhood.
Or even a stressed out parent who's a single parent, or even a stressed out couple with
Yeah.
kids, they just don't always have time to go out and get what they need.
Yeah, family with a lot of children also. That's great. My parents used to be real good that way. Deliver a meal, a Christmas meal to families close by that. We already had 10 children anyway, but they decided other families with large women with large families needed food also. So to their credit, Mabel, we should think about a local vendors list for Christmas for Sherman Park.
That would be a great idea.
Damn, that's a good idea. Like that thing we had years ago with all the different contractors.
Oh, the resource guide.
Yeah, the resource guide. We should have a food vendors resource guide, especially next door at the
Sherman.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, shucky darns.
There are some local vendors in the Sherman Phoenix that make handmade gifts.
That's what I
And
mean.
that's another place to get items as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Shucky darns. We should think about that next year.
I know that Tricklebee Cafe at 45th and North is selling products that people they know have made either ceramic mugs or they've made like Alice's farms. She knows Alice's garden. She knows her real well, and so she sells her teas and her seasonings for food.
Yeah.
From the herbs that she grows and coffee, fair trade coffee.
Yeah. Venus Williams. Yeah, that's great. That's a good idea. Boy, we got a great list. Mercy.
So this isn't really related to gift giving at all, but the glass pantry has a tub set up for old strings of lights that don't work anymore. So you can recycle those instead of just tossing them in the trash.
Yeah. St. Sebastian's used to have that also. We would take old lights over there. That's a great idea. Oh,
So
Doris, what did you have? I'm sorry. You escaped there on me. List of plumbers, electricians, handymen. Yeah.
Yes,
That's
that's
a
so
great one.
needed. That's
Yeah.
So related to the dead tree bulbs, I don't know where they are right now. I like to make Christmas ornaments too. And if you take the bulb out of the plastic holder and you have like the two wires that are there, if you happen to have a soldering iron and some solder, you can connect them all together. And if you connect like 8 of them, so the bulbs are all pointing out, you have a little snowflake that's like in the middle is a ball, basically a glob of solder, but that holds all the copper wires in. They're a little bit fragile because the copper wires are really thin, but it is still a fun little ornament.
Oh,
Also,
wow.
when I was in high school, my mom and I used to make a bunch of ornaments for my friends. So I still have this one, which
Oh, wow.
this is an egg that if you poke a hole in it or 2 holes in it, you can blow really hard. You gotta
Yeah.
shake it up first. So it's hard. It's really hard to get the egg out of the shell. And then you can try to like get some water in and shake it up to clean it out so it doesn't have egg residue in
yeah.
it. But then you can really easily paint it like a penguin.
So
And it's just got felt on the bottom for feet, and it's a really cute guy.
That's an egg shell.
This is an egg, yeah.
Wow.
And this is like 20 years old now, so the
Did
last
you
is
have to
good.
dry it, or did it dry naturally itself?
I think we dried it naturally after we,
Wow, I've never seen that before.
yeah.
Wow.
My mom was a children's librarian and she learned how to make
Oh.
crafts out of any kind of garbage. If you had milk caps, she would teach the toddlers how to make turtles or like that.
That's
Anything that you'd see, she'd be like, oh, well, I can use this to make this. And
cool. Doris, you wanted to say?
No, I thought it was great.
Yeah, isn't it? That's cute.
Mhm.
That's funky.
Cards that you hate, the designs on
Mhm.
cards, you know, when I was talking about the love letters.
Yeah. Recycling or using the face of the card, Doris?
Yeah, the face of the card.
Yeah.
And when you read the love letters around the Zoom table,
Yeah.
where you talk about the person, how much you care, and the different things that happened to them during the year that they didn't share with the other family members. So you just
Wow.
go around the circle. Yeah.
Doris, that's great.
Mhm. Works
Thank
fine.
you.
Mhm.
Cass, do you have anything to add tonight? She's still there.
No, my mind is still blown from all the plastic talk. I'm just, I feel sick from that. I can't even concentrate on like pleasantries right now. My mind is so blown. But and I knew a lot of that, but just the detail of it was just, it just makes you think so much. And I had just had this conversation with a few people not too long ago about plastic being in everything. And when it's microscopic, it's just like, you just think, well, what is this really doing to our bodies? You know, and we probably really won't know for another, 50, 75 years, we'll all be gone. But it's interesting. And, I think, I guess maybe you just start with yourself and your household to mitigate, your use and just to think differently. So I'll get to the holiday stuff later, but I'll probably need about another 24 hours to recover from the information.
Leah, you rained on the parade.
I'm so sorry I bummed everybody out. I'm really glad we ended with the cheery stuff, right? Because it's like it's depressing. It really is. But like there are, like podcast, just start at home and 1 or 2 things here and there and build on it and tell your friends about it.
Yeah.
Green holiday gifts and you're good to go.
Yeah, you can make a dent, and what did it say? The first step to the, I don't know what that is, about the longest mile or whatever. The journey starts with the first step. We'll just do the first step and we'll be good. So, but thank you everyone for all your ideas and, just sharing all this information. It was really great. Thanks.
Thanks for being with us tonight.
Sure.
Okay, anybody else? Ben, you got anything for us?
I don't.
You can't just sit idly by here now.
If I could just add about the plastic, we used to kind of make a game out of it in the Eco Village. So it started with just my household that we would take a month every year and try to make it a plastic-free month, which really just meant, you try to cut down as much as you can, but any amount of plastic that you consumed we had to keep, and we had to keep it like out in our space. And so that even meant little
Wow.
things, like you're in a restaurant and you go to take a peppermint at the end, you're like, oh, I can't take that peppermint because it's got this little piece of plastic with it.
Yeah.
And then one year we actually expanded it, because in a month you can just be like, oh, well, I just won't buy this month. And so you can kind of cheat a little bit. But one year we kept all of our plastic for a year. And that was, oh, I mean, it was a decent amount of stuff, a lot less than I think most people probably, but it was,
Wow.
it really makes you think when you have a space in your home that you're setting aside to purposefully put all of the plastic that you
Yeah.
have for a full year. And at the end of the year, like, okay, well, or I mean, even a couple months in, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to keep growing at this rate. Like, what can I do to get rid of this? And it helped that at that time I lived 2 blocks from Outpost and could bring all of my containers there and walk there. But there are a lot of things that you can do. It's just being thoughtful about it. So you just break it down, and then eventually you just think of ideas, and it becomes a little less overwhelming. And then you think about it again and you get overwhelmed again. But
That's true. Was this your Bayview community?
yeah,
Wow. So you guys as a group had this pile that you could see.
we
what you
tried
could-
to make it a competition
Wow.
to see which household had the least after
Yeah,
a
that's what I
year.
mean.
But not everybody wanted to actually play along for that long. So it's a long commitment.
Undertaking, yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
But it was, I mean, having a group of people, it was just a lot of fun to do challenges like that. We would just be
Yeah.
like, oh, well, let's take a month this year and not use a car. We took a month in the summer and we turned off our water heater. We would just do random
Really?
stuff to see,
Just be aware.
just to be aware. Yeah.
Wow.
Which
That's
the car thing
amazing.
is tricky, because when you have even odd parking, you
Well,
can
yeah.
parallel park a car with multiple people without turning it on, but it's hard.
There is power steering that locks up. You do know that, Lauren.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's
Yeah, when
pretty
you live
amazing.
with a bunch of like people whose goal is to try to be ecologically minded, you just kind of like throw out ideas and they're like, oh, well, let's try it. It can't hurt.
That's amazing. Oh, geez. Well, thanks, everybody. This has been Ann, and Mabel, Ben, those of us who've worked all year on the eco thing. And Lauren, it's amazing, isn't it? The
Can't believe
things
we've
that-
done this many webinars.
Yeah, but just amazing the things we've learned and heard and experienced with folks. I mean, next year should be bigger and better. But thanks to all of you. It's been a great season. You all have a good holiday, however you celebrate it. And don't burn down any trees like the poor Fox Christmas tree that was burnt down.
We need our trees.
Wasn't that horrible?
Although that tree was probably cut down from somewhere.
No, it was all made up. It had a structure inside of it. And they had
Oh, okay.
plugged tree pieces in there. Somebody
Okay.
lit it up. Okay, everybody have a good holiday. And
Thanks
be
for
back
hosting.
next
You
year.
too.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much for having
everybody.
us here.
Yep, thank you, Leah and Nicole.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Ben, thank you. Good job.
Thanks,
again tonight.
everyone.
You're the best.
Thank you.
All right,
Take
happy
care, everybody.
holidays. All right,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
everybody. Tal, be good now.